Hi, y'all. I hope you guys are well. As you guys can see, today is May 19th, and I'm on here to talk about my feelings or how I feel about me being at the 800, over 800 in regards to my credit score. How do I feel? I don't feel any different. I don't feel like I'm the person to give advice. I've never been that type of person because the way I live my life is just I share my life with you guys. I share my budgeting with you. I share everything, and that's just the way of me. I don't give advice, but it's a way for people to learn about how I'm doing things. Um so if you don't know, I filed bankruptcy 10 years ago, and I mentioned it before, but I will just mention it again. I was in with my husband, and he was not good with money, but me being a wife and letting him take the lead, everything fall back on me. He didn't care about credit. I always had money. I was always good with money, but I let him take the lead, and that was not for the best. One of our cars, our car at the time got repossessed. And at that point, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And my story went as eventually me and my son, we became homeless, and I quit my job because of domestic violence. It was just a hard time. And I was just like, you know what? I I don't need anything, so let me start over fresh. So we were separated. I was homeless for 3 months until I figured out where I was going to work, where we were going, me and my son were going to live. So, all that to say that what I'm going through now is not my first time, minus the fact that I'm not homeless. So, I know struggles. I'm sorry, I always get emotional, but if you guys know where I've come from and where I'm at right now, that's why I kind of feel like I'm going backwards, and it hurts. But at the same time, it's different because I'm not homeless. We have a roof over our head. I have money saved, whereas before I had money saved up. I will say that I had money saved up. But for your child to be so young, at any point, to be homeless, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. But if you guys would like a story on that in the future, I don't think there's much of a story that, domestic violence made me have to build up from the ground up. So there's really not much of a story to go with that. But anyways, the car got repossessed. There were credit cards that he had racked up. And I'm just like, you know what, Candace? For you to start fresh, it's just best to go ahead and file bankruptcy. So the car itself was probably like over 12,000, I think it was. Now thinking about right now, right where I'm at right now, I'm like, man, I could have paid that off. But I didn't want to have that additional stress of paying off something, getting a new car, doing all of these things by myself. Like, I was without a car for a year. I would have stayed without a car for longer. I was just taking public transportation, and I felt okay. I felt okay. Where I lived at, it was really good with public transportation. The only reason why I ended up getting a car, which I would have paid for outright, which would have been the Hyundai Sonata that I have. I would have paid for it outright, but the car dealership, I let him know that I filed bankruptcy like a year. It was like a year. it was like a year, almost a year after I filed bankruptcy. He said, just, you could put a big lump sum down. So I think I put 7,000 down. And, um, and what ended up happening was, he was like, for the other 3,000, just take out, like, I think it was a 2-year, 3-year loan. So my payments, I think it was a 2-year loan. So my car payments were small, but he just says that help that build up your credit. So that's what I ended up doing. And ever since then, you guys have been following me on my journey since 2018. You guys have seen me pay off debt, go back into debt, not in a bad way, but I was just racking up debt. So with all this to say, I don't give advice because I filed bankruptcy. Once again, that was not of a fault of my own, but even after the fact, I have built up debt. When my husband passed, it was a lot for me emotionally. I've always dealt with depression since I've been a little girl, and anxiety. I don't really talk about the anxiety side, but I feel more comfortable talking about depression, because that's what I've always been diagnosed with. Whereas the anxiety part is something that I knew I had, but I was never diagnosed with it until recently. And that's where I'm just like, oh, so that's what I've been dealing with. So I don't really discuss that because I'm like, I was never really diagnosed with that. But looking back at it, I'm like, wow, all of these feelings I've had, I've been dealing with a lot and not being diagnosed properly. And it's just been a mess. But needless to say, with my husband passing, I've been through a lot emotionally. Prior to my husband passing, 6 months prior, my mother passed. And, I moved to Virginia, and it was just a lot. After, like, a week or 2 to 3 weeks after we moved to Virginia, me and my son, my husband passed. So we're in a new location by ourselves. Me and my husband, we still weren't together at that point. And it was, I don't know, well, I will say this, we were together, but we were trying to work things out. We would have, because when you deal with domestic violence, you kind of think sometimes that things will get better, some things won't get better. You just have an expectation that people can change. You just want to look at the best in people. And I will say, financially, I always had the best interest for my own self and my son. I was never able to rely on my husband. So to think that I could be in a relationship or need a relationship to help me be where I'm at right now is never something that is in the back of my head, because I never had that financial help. Whereas if I did, I probably would be hurting more financially than I am right now, or I would have to change my thinking more. But I don't have to do that because I've always done things on my own. My husband will always take from me. And that wasn't a good feeling. So where I'm at now, I feel like I am the one in full control of my finances. Nobody else is, and that's a good feeling. And it's a good feeling to be independent and not have to rely on anybody for help. And I think that's kind of a bad part for me, because if I do need help, it's hard for me to ask for it. Or if somebody wants to give to me, it's hard for me to take. I'm a giver. I'm not a receiver, because that's how I've always been. And it's always good to give, but at the same time, it's good for others to have that same feeling of giving as well. And on the receiving end, if I'm not receptive to it, then that could be hard for the person that's trying to feel better about giving. You guys know what I mean. I don't give advice because you guys can see, yes, I'm in my bankruptcy has fallen off. This also includes me having the new car payment, or the new car being added on. When I got the car, my credit score did not change that much. It decreased by like a point. Now this is like FICO score. I don't know if it's the real credit score or I know one that I'm going to show you is the FICO score. The other one says credit score. I don't know the difference between the two. I just know I'm in the 800 club, but I'm not here to be flossing and be like, oh yeah, listen to me, I got things right, I know how to do things, I know how to save money. No, I don't do that. I rather just show, and whatever a person can take in or apply to their own selves or look at and say, hey, I could do that. That's something I can incorporate. I don't feel like I know it all, because I don't know it all. I'm learning. I am happy that my credit score, it's been 10 years, 10 years, and I'm so happy and proud of myself to be where I'm at now, not in debt. Well, I have a car payment, but that's different. I'm going to pay that off. But either way, if I still want to pay it off within a year and a year and a half, that's still my goal. But even if I did have a car payment for X amount of years, that's okay. Everybody needs a car, you know? And I'm just at a point where financially things have changed. So I come to you to share everything in regards to my finances, to see how I'm doing things. And I'm just happy to finally not have it's not like I don't feel, I will say for myself, the bankruptcy did not do anything in a negative aspect for me, because I wasn't looking for anything. Like when I got my car, I put a big down payment. I could have bought it outright. But throughout these years, I just didn't ask for anything. Like sometimes I will ask for a credit line increase just to equate the difference between how much utilization I have versus how much I have available. And sometimes those will get declined because of me having the bankruptcy still on my record. But besides that, I really don't have that many negatives. If you're looking to buy a house or things like that, of course, for you, that may have a negative effect for you. But for me, I've always been simple, so I didn't ask for much on my credit or have my credit pulled for a lot of things. A lot of the accounts I have now are accounts that I've either had or shortly had after, like a year or two after my bankruptcy filed, because I just wanted to build credit. But as I mentioned, through these years, I still have added credit, or utilized credit emotionally and racked up, and then had to pay it off. I plan on being really good in regards to not doing that emotional spending. So far, so good. And yeah, y'all, I'm happy. I'm happy, but I just wanted to let you know my story, as to why I filed bankruptcy. But also that it's okay, not everybody needs to file bankruptcy. If I look back at it now, it's like me paying off the car that I have. And I could have done that, but to have a car repossessed, to get it back, you have to pay money. And then on top of that, and it was just a lot that I'm paying. I will be paying for a car that I don't have, and it was too much for me to get caught up being homeless basically for months. And I just decided to just call it quits and start fresh by myself with my son, and be in control of my own finances, knowing that nobody else will tear me down. I don't suggest filing for bankruptcy if you're really not ready to be at that point, because guess what? 10 years from now, you may be filing another bankruptcy if you don't change your mindset, or if you don't get out of the situation you're in financially, or sometimes the relationship that you're in. It depends on, as I mentioned, my relationship was a domestic violence, emotional, financial, all of those type of things. And I me and my son, we were homeless twice. Twice, okay? And it's not a good feeling. But I'm happy where I'm at now. I should be very proud of myself. And that's why I get really emotional because I've been through a lot, you guys. My son has been through a lot. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of myself, and I should be more happy than what I am, because right now I am starting over in regards to work, and finding my way, and I won't have a lot of extra money laying around, and that's going to get some getting used to, but I'm not going to go back in debt. I'm not going to go back in debt. I don't ever want to be back in that predicament again, but I don't know what the future brings. But as long as I can control what goes on, I would never want to be back. Even if my credit score falls below 800, I don't see how that could fall below 800. The only thing I can think of is if I pay off my car, but applying for my car, it only took me down like 1 or 2 points. So I don't know how that will play, but it's a nice feeling to be in the $800 or 800 credit score club. So sorry, this is a little bit all over the place, but I just wanted to share my story and give myself a little pat on the back, and just know that, hey, 10 years have passed, and girl, you are doing your thing. And no, I won't give financial advice because I don't know everybody's circumstances. All I can do, the best thing for me to do is share in hopes that people will watch, and hopefully something that they can take in and apply to their own financial journey. Because I know one size doesn't fit all, you know. I already know that. That's why I don't give advice. So yeah, y'all, thank you guys for watching. I thought I was like, hey, let me put on my professional background because we haven't had that in a while, and just talk with you.